Welcome to this video. Today I want to talk about where thoughts come from and how do they control our lives. So I found that in order to be able to explain the concepts of Peiec and the teachings of Peiec, I really needed to start to create some images that allows me to explain what life is all about and how I see it, and then how I teach my students to understand life in a different way and how they're also able to heal in a different way. So I'm going to use this image and I want to talk to you about the different stages that we go through in order for us to end up living in a state of presence. And I always talk about a state of presence being different to being present in the moment. So being present in the moment is potentially we have become aware of our surroundings, of our moment, of our physical vessel, but that can potentially be very different to being in a state of presence, because in presence our layers are going to be very different than when we're just present. So where do our thoughts come from? And why do we have racing minds? And why does our body and our reality change so very quickly? And sometimes in such a way that we have no idea that it's actually happened. From one moment to the next, we're just in it. And so when we're in a state of presence, or we don't have any thoughts, we're very quiet, everything is calm, we're literally in this first image. There are no thoughts. From the perspective of Peiec, our layers of self, and remember those layers are not the layers of the aura or any sort of other layers that people work with, no. But our layers would be nice and empty. The energy flowing through those layers would be really calm. We're literally full of source, in the abundance of source, God, universe, quantum field, and there are no blockages that are coming up within the layers of self to create any sort of discordance or anxiety. We're purely in presence. There are no thoughts. Everything is incredibly calm. Everything's incredibly peaceful, and you're in presence. Yeah, this is the state that we live in when we're also in core and we're connected to source. Core is that untainted part of self that we talk about in Peiec, and we get people to experience. Literally, when you first start Peiec, in the fundamentals of Peiec, you get shown how to go to core, how to access core. Because often we get a little bit confused. Even when I was meditating before I learned about Peiec and Source showed me the work of Peiec, I was doing a lot of meditating. But from what I realized is that I was maybe just touching or going into core, but mainly living in the energetic layer of self pretty much most of the time. And so what we try to do is we try to show people how to go that one step further and go into core. And automatically when we're in core, we're aligning ourselves with this state of being. And before we do any work in Peiec, it is always really important to go to core, to allow this state to start to occur, even though there may be things that are going on within the layers of self. So when we're in that state of presence, when we're fully aligned, when all the layers are calm and they're empty, we are in this state of pure oneness, just as it shows in this first image. Now, what happens when our layers of self become active? Now remember the layers of self, we have 4 layers of self, and the layers are the energetic, the intellect, the emotional, and the physical. Now I don't know why they were named that, because most of the time then people get really confused and go, okay, they must represent the mind, my emotions, and the physical vessel. It would have been far better had these layers just been called different colors, because they're not representative of our emotions and our mind and our physical vessel. They're components. If we can think about them as being different colors on a spectrum, each of them have a different vibration and a frequency. Each of them hold different elements within them that affect the whole. And within these layers, there are life moments. And life moments are not memories. They're literally moments in time that encompass everything within a moment, and they hold a charge. And these layers are very, very deep. And a lot of the time, the life moments sit dormant within the layers until there is an opportunity for them to rise. And what I mean by that is it can be a circumstance. Someone may have looked at you, someone may have said something to you, you've walked into a crowded room, you've driven past someone and you've seen something. There could be, and there's an endless list, an absolute endless list of things that can happen to you from moment to moment that causes, and if you were to have a look at this image, causes these life moments. They all have a charge, and a lot of time they all have a different charge to rise through and up from the lower layers of self, right? And when I talk about the lower layers of self, they rise up like through the mud, right? And most of us, before we start working on ourselves, or we understand that we're on this spiritual journey or a journey of growth or a journey of healing, we're constantly in a state of overwhelm. We're constantly in anxiety. We constantly have body pain. Our nervous system is completely dysregulated because we have these life moments, and they're not all circular. They're all different shapes. We have these life moments that are already sitting in the layers all the time. And so you have to remember that these elements hold a charge. Yeah. So if you can imagine that they're doing this, instead of being empty, those layers being empty, there's a charge, right? And that charge is then flowing out to our body, to our mind, to our nervous system, and causing this reality to be so heightened, to be full of fear, to be full of racing thoughts. And so these life moments, as we can see in this image, as we go further along this image, you'll start seeing how complex, and the amount of life moments that come up will determine how active your mind is going to be. So when you come out of that state of presence, and let's say maybe you've done some meditating, or you've done some sound healing, or maybe you've done a bit of yoga, and maybe it takes you to this state. I haven't noticed a lot of people tend to be in that state at all. I've noticed them being in this state, that particularly in meditation, and I can only talk about from when I did it all the time, and then I started to understand Peiec about what I was shown, and that I still had life moments in the layers, but what meditating would do, or what other energy work was doing, was it was allowing energy to flow through the top part of the layers, and it was definitely releasing some of the higher and more manageable or lightweight or less dense charged life moments to dissipate. So, and it also pushed along the life moments back down into the layers, and that caused my body to respond and relax. So in a sense, it was like this false state of calmness, because if I didn't meditate, those life moments would just be sitting on the surface all the time, and they would constantly explode. So what I see is people potentially going to this state when they're feeling a little bit calm, but underneath it all, you know that there is some sort of underlying anxiety. And that's what these life moments, this energetic charge, is doing. And you can see it pulling it out of that state into this state. And as you're in a moment, whether it's you're talking to somebody or someone said something or you've seen something, so many different circumstances, there are more and more life moments that start coming up through the layers of self, like the lotus flower that comes up through the mud. And then our brain starts getting or becoming more and more active. Because remember, the life moments and the charge that it holds literally projects thoughts, memories, smells, all that sort of stuff to the mind. It's like a projection screen. The mind becomes a projection screen for what is happening within the layers of self. And that can be positive or negative, right? It doesn't have to be negative all the time, but we tend to be overwhelmed with the negative thoughts and negative experiences. And so it becomes more and more active. We then start getting the racing thoughts because we don't know how to manage and calm or release these life moments within the layers of self, and we're just trying to control our thoughts. We try to control our nervous system. We're trying to control the pain that's coming up in our body. We're trying to control the dis-ease or illness that starts coming up. That is all starting to come up because what is happening in the layers of self. And when people first come to see me or they start doing Peiec, most of them are all in this sort of area. Their layers of self are constantly full of life moments, and they don't really get a reprieve. Or they go and do something, or they've gone to a healing event, or they've done some meditating, or they've done something that, yes, maybe some of these life moments get pushed down, but as soon as they finish, they all start rising up again. So it becomes this perpetual cycle of trying to force the next thing or go to the next thing to get a moment of quiet, which is still not quiet. It might be something down here or here where they think that is peace or peaceful, but it's never the state down the bottom because there are always these energetically charged life moments within the layers of self. So what we do in Peiec is initially, like I said, when people come, we teach them how to go to core, to connect to that space that maybe they've never been in, or maybe they've popped in and popped out, when they've done meditation or maybe something else. But as soon as they leave that space or they pop out of it, those life moments just keep churning all the time. If you're quick to temper or if you're constantly negative, it is because your layers are full of these life moments and they project everything to the mind. Now, really, when we're in this state down here, of complete emptiness, you should be able to talk to somebody. You should be able to look at a pen or look at any sort of image without a thought. You should be able to experience the dynamics of that object or that person or that thing without thoughts. But we know that more often than not, if we look at something, all of a sudden these thoughts start firing off, not just about the object, but it'll trigger something about I have to do this, I have to do that. Oh, and then that's negative self-talk starts arising. What's happening is from the moment of maybe when you don't have any life moments in your layers or you've got a minimal amount, looking at an object because you have so many life moments in your layers will trigger more of them. And they start rising up through the mud. And then they start triggering your mind, your reality changes, your body responds to it, and then you're in a world of pain, so to speak. Yeah? So our thoughts, our racing mind, the way the body responds is all in response to what is happening in the layers of self. And what the energy that is being created in those moments is doing to our reality. So instead of controlling our thoughts, right? And ultimately all that we're doing is that we're trying to control the mind. We are not controlling the life moments within the layers of self. We have to energetically release them. We have to be able to release the moments in time. And if they have a similar flavor, it's never going to be one life moment. There's going to be one moment that maybe rises up due to a circumstance, but it will then attach itself or call out other life moments that have a similar flavor to it. And it could be one life moment may have a smell. There was a moment in time when something happened and there was a particular smell. So that moment rises up when something happens again when there is a similar smell, right? So it's not just one moment. It then becomes multiple moments that rise up. And that's why the force of your thoughts are so overwhelming. And they become wild in a sense because you think, I just had one thought and all of a sudden now I'm thinking about the bus and my lunch and what happened 10 weeks ago. All these things start talking to each other and become the spider web of life moments. They have a charge within the layers and then they project that to the mind and your brain and your mind just goes off. Yeah. So in a sense, what we need to do is we need to go into the layers and start. Initially, when you learn Peiec, you learn how to calm those layers. And then as you move on further, we show you how to find these moments. And it's not about going, I'm going to go back in time and find that moment. Yes, you will create change. But within Peiec, it's not about even that moment because that moment may be more amplified because other life moments have also come up because there's a similarity. And it may not be the similarity that you think is the thing that is triggering it. So that's why we tend to get such profound changes within people's lives when we do this work. And it's very, very different. And it's not about pushing for a result. It's a matter of releasing the expectation, completely releasing the expectation. Because when I go into the layers, I never know what I'm going to find. I never know where these moments, life moments, are going to be situated and which life moments potentially hold a stronger charge than others. And that plays a key moment to everything else. And so you can see how on your healing journey or on your spiritual awakening journey or your journey of awakening, whatever you choose to call it, I prefer to call it your journey of growth, right? Your journey of moving to a higher state of consciousness. Moving to a higher state of consciousness and being more aware and being more in presence is because we have less life moments within the layers of self. So we're moving from that image on the right here to the image on the left. And really your state of awakening or your journey of awakening is going from these three sort of images, and you slowly move to this as you become more empty. Yeah, you become more full and you become more in presence. And you become calmer and more peaceful because there are less life moments within the layers of self. And you become more empty. And you become more empty again. And then you'll find that you'll have less life moments in the layers. And there's a state of calmness that is there all the time. And you'll find that you'll start looking at things and you just see the pen. You see the surrounds of it. You understand the connection between the pen and you and the world and the universe. You see into the beyond. You're not controlled by the life moments in the layers of self that want to come up and alter your experience of reality. So I hope this explains a little bit about where your thoughts come from and how we can actually change the way that we can see the world and that we understand the world and how we can move through our awakening or move through our healing in such a different way. And so if you have any questions for me, I know you probably have a lot, maybe put them in the comments below so that I can start creating some more videos. If things that you don't understand, then please ask them. I'm more than happy to try to explain your journey, your Kundalini awakening journey, your spiritual awakening journey, your journey of healing, whatever it is. I would love to hear your questions below. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would love for you to subscribe and also click the notification bell just to make sure that you get the new videos as I release them. Thank you so much, and we'll talk very, very soon.